is with us in Lexington, Kentucky. Hi, Jean. How are you?
Hi, Dave. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a question. I am going to receive a nice inheritance, approximately $175,000. I would like to keep this in my name so that my children can be the beneficiaries. I'd also like to hold it in case my mother needs more money for her care in the next couple years. And I'd like to keep this just private in that my husband doesn't know a lot about this. What would you suggest I do?
Jean, we got to dig in. We got to dig into that. Why? Why do we not want the husband to know?
Just a precarious relationship, and there's never been any respect for my family, and I really don't want him to have any part of this should it happen. So, that's the way it is. Been that way for a long time. So,
how long have you been married?
Over 50 years.
Okay. I don't think it is. I don't think it is healthy to hide things from spouses. I don't think it's healthy for you. I don't think it's healthy for him. If you want to set it aside where he doesn't have any access to it, that's very possible. And you can, but not telling him about it is that's not good. That's deceiving, and you don't want to be that person. And I'm not going to participate in helping you do that because I think that's wrong.
Well,
but
I know that. I just knew that. I don't think he would let me handle it or have it.
He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, this language is what's concerning, Jean. I mean, I know y'all have been married a long time, and it sounds like there's been layers of problems for a long time, but he won't let me with this money that you're getting for your family. I don't.
How old are you?
I'm over 70.
Okay. All right. Well, what I would tell you to do is to contact an estate planning attorney and talk about how you can put this into a trust of some kind that you are in control of. And it's really not up to him. He doesn't have a let you part in this, except that he emotionally rules over you, it sounds like. But, what this is pointing out is that you don't have a precarious relationship. You have a horrible relationship. That's what this is pointing out.
You don't trust your husband, and you don't feel safe with him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not trying to exaggerate it, but you don't feel safe to tell him something that is happening in your life.
Well, and for fear that he's going to, quote, take over.
Right. He's not going to let you take care of your mom or your kids.
From a legal and a account perspective, he doesn't really have control. The check would come to you. You open up an account. You set it in a trust. You can put it in a simple bank account if you want to, but it's in your name. He has absolutely no access to it. Now, you're going to want to be sure you have a will so that the money goes to your children, as you said, and that he doesn't get any control of it. And that's one of the reasons to set it up as a trust. Then the trust can transfer to your children, and there's, it's almost impossible for him to break into that with a will. If you have a will and a trust, and the money's in trust, and it's, you're the trustee, it's in control, you're in control of it, or somebody's the trustee, you're the beneficiary, whatever, however your estate planner tells you to set it up. But you need to go see an estate planning attorney, and you're going to spend $3,000 to $5,000 on documents, a will, a trust, and you're going to get some legal advice on how to do this in a way where it all stays in your name, where you're in complete control of it. But he doesn't have any legal access to this money unless you give it to him. And so, but honey, you got other stuff going on here. There's a lot of fish frying on this one discussion, and this is not really about the $175,000. This is about the quality of your life.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Would you recommend counseling? I mean, they've been married 50 years. Like, it's kind of like, not like it's like too far gone, but it's like, Do you think he would even be open to?
I have no idea. I mean, it couldn't hurt.
Right.
It
But
couldn't
it's like,
hurt.
to your point, you don't need to live your life this way, Gene. You don't need to live in fear, whether it's about an inheritance conversation or anything. That you don't need to live like that. Like there needs to be these issues. I would love to see you get help with them. Get him to get help with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you've been married 50
If you're in a
years.
good church, you ought to sit down with your pastor and have this discussion.
Yeah.
With or without him.
Yeah.
And then, but as far as the, you shouldn't have, from a legal perspective, he has absolutely no access to the money unless you give it to him, if you do what I'm talking about. Now, if you just go open up a bank account, you can get into all kinds of different issues then. So I'm going to say, let's put it into trust, and let's have a will, and then that'll dictate what happens to the money.
Yeah, Gene, I would, yeah. If there's something you didn't say where you don't want to tell him because you're scared to tell him, for more, you need to have some help, some support through this. If there's something where you're scared to tell him for other reasons, you need to have some extra support through this.
Amen.
In case there's something you didn't say.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you need to sit down with your pastor this week. And let's get some people around you and figure out what the flip's really going on here. I'm still stuck with the 70-plus-year-old lady in Lexington who is in obviously a very dysfunctional marriage.
Yeah. Been married 50 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like this is a new thing.
Yeah. And I think so anytime I can find somebody that is in a bad situation, particularly late in life, what I want to learn from that, if I'm in this audience listening to this, is how to not end up there. Like, I mean, if you talk to somebody who's in their 70s, they have zero money. It's a bad situation.
Right.
They're living off Social Security, social insecurity, right? Starving to death. Because that's no picnic. Then I want to learn how not to be that person. So how do you not end up there?
Yeah.
Where she is?
Yeah, I think what's interesting, and you've talked about this before, in any area of life choices, that type of thing, I don't think it's this, I don't think it's an overnight thing. I don't think it's one of those things that's some tragedy or you flip a switch. It's by degrees.
Yep.
By degrees, we make bad choices. By degrees, we settle. By degrees, we compromise. By degrees, we let someone have power over us. By degrees, we let things go. Don't set boundaries. Don't communicate. By degrees. And you wake up one day, I'm just guessing here on this call, for example, and you make a statement that sounds totally normal to you. I can't tell him because he won't let me do that with my money. And that sounds normal to you. Because by degrees, over 50 years, there have become these grooves in your relationship of what has been allowed, what has been acceptable, what has been permitted, that you are in this very unhealthy dynamic, very unhealthy roles. But I don't think it started that way. I don't think they were like that when they walked down the aisle. I wouldn't imagine,
No. But, some things, your wealth, your health, your relationships, your leadership, your business, your career, there is no such thing as status quo. Nothing stays the same. It is growing or it's dying. And typically, if it's growing, it's a matter of you've been intentional about it. If it's dying, it's because your garden. If your garden is full of weeds, it's because you let it go. No one said, "Oh, let's intentionally fill a garden full of weeds."
Right.
But you just let it go.
Right.
You didn't do anything. If you want a beautiful rose garden, you've got to put the manure down. You got to do the trimmings. You got to do the cuttings. You have to prune the dead wood away, and you have to weed. And so a series of constant, incremental, intentional acts cause you to grow and become better and better and better and better in a given area of your life or relationships. Not doing that, it just deteriorates. So as you said, it didn't start out in the place she is, but, so what I want folks to take from that call is, we used to have a guy work here, he said, sometimes people like that are an anti-mentor. They're the opposite of a mentor. This is what not to do. Okay, so what not to do is to 35 years ago not have dealt with it, whatever it is.
Right.
And because I'll just not gonna worry about it. Well, then your gardens are gonna have weeds.
Do you think there's something? Do you think there's a generational thing? I'm sure there's a value thing with this. Maybe it's personality style, whatever. Where it's this idea of like, I'm going to sweep it under the rug because that's be the bigger person. I'm going to take the higher ground. It's the polite Southern godly Christian thing to do. I've told Matt before when we have conversations, I'm like, I don't sweep anything under the rug. My rug is clean. You can lift it up anytime because I just air things all, like I'm a very open communicator. But I think some people think that that's the open communication is almost offensive, where it's like, well, let's just sweep it under the rug, let it go, that type of thing. But your rug builds up. If you just sweep things under the rug for years and years and years, you get to the point where you've got so much built up resentment and such an unhealthy dynamic because you didn't, to your point, deal with things when they were happening, and it becomes very unhealthy.
Well, we talk about, and you help teach this too when we're teaching in entree leadership, is with a team member that's misbehaving or that is not performing or whatever. If you in the name of being nice, sweep it under the rug. Don't deal with it. Eventually, it's going to explode because it's going to get bad enough that and you finally get so frustrated they don't even know you're frustrated.
Right.
That you just walk in mad and fire them.
Didn't you tell a story one time that you got fired? You still don't know why?
Yeah, I did. I probably deserved it.
You should dig into that.
I probably deserved it.
Yeah.
But I'll never know. The guy's dead now. It was a long time ago. I was just out of college.
Yeah.
But he just walked in and cussed at me and threw a box on my table and said, "Get your blankety blank stuff and blankety out of here." And I'm like, "What I do? You don't even want to know. Just get out of here." And I'm just like, "My God, man."
Well, I don't know.
I still don't know. But I know he was a jerk. I know that part. But but that doesn't mean I wasn't.
Right.
And that doesn't mean I didn't deserve it. But the point is, you let things build up. And so we always use the saying when you're dealing with team members, and it applies in these other parts of this discussion too. To be unclear is to be unkind. To not deal with whatever there is there, and put it out there and go, this is what's going on, and this is the way this is.
Well, I would say to anybody listening right now that if something's coming to mind, whether it's in their marriage or in their job or whatever, and they're going, oh yeah, I really hate that. I don't even want to deal with it. I don't face it. Fast forward 30 years. What's that going to look like if you don't? You know what I mean? That it's not going to go away. It's not going to things don't magically just get better. They get better with a lot of hard work and intentionality. It was kind of like what you were talking about a minute ago, because there's this gap between our intentions that we have and the outcomes that we get, and what fills the gap is discipline or not. You're either working on it and growing, like the garden example, or it's dying. And so if you don't have that intentional discipline to act on your intentions, not just, oh, I know I should read a book. Oh, I know I should go to counseling. Oh, I know I should work. No one doesn't do anything. It's not the thought that counts. It's what you do that counts, that leads to the outcomes. And
if I intend to send my wife flowers and I don't, I get no credit for that.
Sharon is not bragging about what you thought about doing for her y'all's anniversary. It's what you actually do that counts.
This is reminding me because Sharon Palooza is coming up. Her birthday is in our first date was in February. Her birthday's in February, and so is Valentine's Day. So February is pretty much Sharon Palooza.
Get it together.
I better get my act together. I better get some stuff going now.
It's not the thought that counts.
Yeah.
It's what you do.
It's the thought that counts. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Nobody cares what you thought about doing.
I intended to send you flowers. You get no credit for that.
No.
I intended to ... Hey, you get no credit for that.
You're not bragging about what your kids thought about getting on the report card. No, it's what they actually get. And so I think there's a great message here. There's a great message of this intentionality. I'll give you a true story example. So the beginning of this year, Dave, Matt, and I sat down. We worked on all of our goals. What are our priorities for the year? What do we want to focus on? What are the trips we want to take? Who do we want to be? How do we want to just improve individually and separate, whatever? Well, one of the things I wrote down, this is me being real honest right now, I just want to be kinder. I want to be just kinder in general. I want to practice kindness. And so...
Not me.
I'm going to add that
Kelly's like, really?
I'm going to add that to your list for you when you're not looking.
Okay, all right.
So I wrote this down. So true story. I wrote this down, and I'm like, yes, this is my intention, okay? I want to be kinder, and here's the things. Here's what we're going to focus on. So next day, I was getting so frustrated about something. And I just felt like the anger rising. It was something at the house, something with the kids, and I found myself just like getting real frustrated. And I felt the Lord stirring me. Are you just going to think about being kinder, or are you going to actually take this moment to practice doing what you said you wanted to do? Are you going to give up your right to be right? Are you going to give up your right to be angry? And instead of stomping downstairs and having a big fit about whatever you think you have the right to be mad about, are you going to actually do something about what you said you're going to do? And it was like this moment of, because in theory, everything sounds good. But in real life, of having to walk out some of the things, having to deal with those things that we're sweeping under the rug, act out kindness, it's hard.
Oh.
It's hard. But that's what produces the results. Yeah. That's what produces the marriage. That's what produces the outcome.
So project the current trajectory of that section of your life out 50 years and see where it's taking you. You may need some adjustments. I think we all might. That's my reminder from that. That's the reminder I got out of that. The anti-mentor.
That's good.
This is the Dave Ramsey Show.